Hi students, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I am Professor K.S. Mosle from the Department of Botany, Navrojivadiya College, Pune. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about topic algae. In today's session, we are going to discuss the given points as per our syllabus. So let us start the presentation of today's session. So let us start our lecture with some of the general characteristics of algae. The plant body of algae is thalloid, which means plant body is not differentiated into root, stem, and leaves. As far as the nutrition is concerned, algae are photoautotrophic, means they synthesize their own food material through the process of photosynthesis. They have vast structural diversity, right from unicellular to multicellular to parenchymatous, and they may grow up to 100 meters, which are actually called as a giant kelps, which are belonging to brown algae, and they grow in ocean. With respect to their development, they have unique reproductive cycle without formation of embryo. This is actually a very unique characteristic feature of algae. Here we will discuss about their habitat and occurrence. Majority of algae grow in water, that is aquatic habitat, which includes freshwater as well as marine water. Example of freshwater algae, that is Spirogyra and Volvox, and example of marine algae is Sargassum polysiphonia. This is Spirogyra, which is freshwater alga, and this is Sargassum, which is marine water alga. Some of them are terrestrial, but the necessity of water is there, and such soils are called as a damp soils. Some algae also grow on wet rocks and tree trunks also, and the example is Vaucaria. Some specialized habitats also noted in algae, that includes epiphytic algae, and example is Bulbocity and Coleocity. Some are grown as epizoic, which means they are growing on the body of animals, and the examples include Basicylidia and Lycophilus. Some grow along with fungus symbiotically to form the lichens. This actually is an example of epiphytic algae, that is Coleocity. Now we will understand the thallus organization of algae. So vegetative body of algae called as a thallus or thalloid structure, which means it is not differentiated into root, stem, and leaves. Structurally, there is also a huge diversity among algae, where the unicellular motile form can be seen, and the example is Chlamydomonas. Here you can see. Then another form is there, that is colonial form, and example is Volvox. Here you can see. Then there are filamentous algae. Example is Spirogyra, which is unbranched, and Cladophora, which is filamentous branched form. Some of them are macroscopic, which means large, and that example is marine kelps, which you can see. So this can grow up to 100 meters in its height, and it grows very well in marine conditions. The cellular structure of algae, which is actually eukaryotic, these are the true algae which have membrane-bound organelles, nucleus and chloroplast, etc. But you have to note that there is one group which is named as a blue-green algae, and this group of algae is prokaryotic, and there are no membrane-bound organelles in this. and there is absence of sexual reproduction. So this is very important point that algae have two different types of cellular structures, prokaryotic as well as eukaryotic. Prokaryotic algae includes blue-green algae and rest of all algae are eukaryotic. The cell wall is composed of cellulose and there is a protective mucilaginous or pectic layer formed around the body of algae, which are slimy to touch, and because of this slimy nature, it prevents it from desiccation and mechanical damage. Pigmentation and nutrition. So nutrition wise, these are, we already discussed that they are photosynthetic. So they use the sunlight to synthesize food. Primary pigment is chlorophyll A, which is universal and common along the all different groups of algae. But the rest of the pigments vary from type to type. And different pigments are present within the algae. Accordingly, they have different colors. Say, for example, brown algae includes fucoxanthin, which is brown colored pigment. Red algae, there is a presence of phycoerythrin. In blue-green algae, C phycocyanin, that is blue and green colored pigment is there. So these pigments actually reflect that specific color, and because of which we can see there are different colors among algae. The reserve food material in algae is also different from type to type. For example, in green algae, the reserve food material is starch. In brown algae, it is laminarian starch or mannitol. In red algae, the members of Rhodophyceae, there is a presence of Floridian starch. So reserve food material and the presence of their pigments is actually the criteria for the classification of different algae. The reproduction in algae is of three types: vegetative, asexual, as well as sexual reproduction. Let us see the first, that is vegetative reproduction. So this is actually the most common method among algae, and it occurs through the fragmentation. So a large filament of algae gets broken into fragments, and each individual fragment grows into the new thallus. Where sexual reproduction is uncommon, but it is taking place through the formation of spores. There are two types, motile and non-motile. Motile spores, that includes flagellated zoospores, and example of that is Chlamydomonas. And non-motile spores are also there. Example of those non-motile spores includes aplanospores and achaenates are there. And whenever there are adverse conditions, algae reproduces asexually. Then sexual reproduction in algae is of three types. One is isogamous, second is unisogamous, and third is oogamous. Isogamous means fusion of similar gametes. Unisogamous means fusion of dissimilar gametes. And oogamous means a large non-motile egg fuses with a small motile sperm. This is called as oogamy. So all three types are present in algae as far as their sexual reproduction is concerned. This is a very unique characteristic that there is absence of embryo stage. So unlike other plants, algae do not form a multicellular embryo. And after the process of fertilization, the zygote typically undergoes direct meiosis and produces the spores. And these haploid spores formed after the meiosis can grow into a new thallus directly. So this is a very unique feature of algae. Now let us understand the economic importance of algae with respect to different aspects. So the first aspect we are going to consider, that is use of algae as food and whatever the nutritional values are there. So that is what we are going to learn. These algae are rich in nutrient profile, which are having high amount of protein, dietary fibers, lipids, vitamin A, B, C, and E, and most of the essential minerals. So that most of those algae which have a rich nutrient profile are used as a food. Then some essential fats are there, and the best example of that is omega-3 fatty acids, which are also present within the algae, and those algae are used as edible algae. They have a big dietary role, and is mostly a single cell or unicellular prokaryotic algae are used. An example of that is spirulina, which is famous for single cell proteins, SCP, and that is one of the best algae used as a dietary supplement for proteins. Some of the algae are also used as a culinary, that includes porphyra, which is a red alga, and it contains up to 35% protein and 45% carbohydrate. The protein is best for the growth of muscles, and carbohydrate is the best source of energy. Another example of brown alga is there, that is laminaria, which is one of the edible seaweeds, and in Japan it is used to prepare a traditional cuisine known as kombu. We are also used as biofuels. Nowadays, you are aware that there is a crisis of energy, and some of the microalgae nowadays are utilized, and which are highly efficient oil producers, and which are serving as a premier alternative for energy platform. This is one of the source which is sustainable, because these are continuously uh, preparing these efficient oils, and in future some of the microalgae might be used to prepare some oils, and that can fulfill the biofuel or oil demands of our country. That includes Synonymus obliquus, which is an important alga that can be used to make or to generate, to synthesize some of the fatty acids, as well as the production of biodiesel. They can produce biohydrogen during the process of synthesis. So, algae as a mechanism for the biofuel and sustainable utilization in the biofuel industry. Some of the industrial applications, including pharmaceutical and other products. So algae can synthesize some of the biologically active compounds. They synthesize diverse secondary metabolites, then antioxidants and pigments. Red and brown algae are commercial sources of agar. You know that agar is a very important product which is essential in the tissue culture industry, which is part of biotechnology, where plants are generated using tissue culture. So that agar is made using algae only. Then some of the very important family that includes Hematococcus folialis, which is cultivated for astaxanthin, which is a potent antioxidant, and this is used as one of the important pharmaceutical products and used in anti-aging, anti-inflammatory, and anti-tumor treatments. So, algae are very important as far as industry and pharmaceutical industry is concerned. Some of the applications of algae in biotechnology, where they are cultivated on large scale, it is a very cost effective but prone to some of the contamination. So there is a need to take proper care. Then some of the advanced controlled environmental conditions are used to cultivate them. And some of the algae are used in genetic industry as cell factories. These are altering metabolic pathway to create superior strains. And the main goal is faster growth, contamination resistance, and overproduction of target lipids and proteins. So these are some of the applications in biotechnology. Some other examples includes algae can be used as a model organism, that is Chlamydomonas reinhardtii, which is a green microalga. Genetically, it is used and it is easier to express high value foreign proteins. And this experiment is successful experiment in biotechnology. Then some of the other pharmaceutical uses includes it is used in the development of therapeutic endocytogens and allergen proteins, which are used to treat some allergic patients. Some of the future prospects include wastewater treatment, simultaneous bioremediation of agriculture and industrial wastewater can be done using some algae. Then the reduction of emissions, that is active capture of carbon dioxide, can be done using algae, and they sustainably yield the biomass that can be processed into renewable fuels and bioplastics. So the problem of use of plastic can be overcome using bioplastic which are generated from algae. Thank you.